Believe it or not, you can discuss Captain America Civil War without using it as an opportunity to take additional potshots at Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Here, let me show you.
Coming for you.
I'm not the one that needs to watch their back.
This doesn't have to end in a fight, Tony. You just started a war. Stay down. Final warning. I could do this all day.
Instead, we're going to take potshots at Joss Whedon. Remember him? For a while there, Whedon was right up there with Nolan, although he never got a cool "In Nolan we trust" catchphrase, but he was Kevin Feige's golden boy. Not only did Whedon direct Marvel's two most successful films to date, only Shane Black's Iron Man 3 was able to also join the $1 billion club, but he suggested Feige hire unknown director James Gunn for the long-shot Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and history was made. But then, 2015 ushered in a dark period of history for Marvel and Whedon. Claiming he was burned out in superhero movies and Feige's oppressive ways, Whedon bit the hand that fed him, apparently feeling he'd eaten enough anyway. Yes, Whedon was ruthless in his interviews with the press prior to the release of the Avengers: Age of Ultron. But then, to his surprise, fans turned on him when the film did hit theaters. They didn't blame Marvel and Feige for what Whedon claimed were forced edits and additional elements shoehorned into the film, but instead felt Whedon's storytelling was sophomoric and his changes to the Black Widow character, a character he'd made famous in the first place, were misogynistic. It got so bad, Whedon quit Twitter. That's bad. Yes, Feige is undefeated when it comes to difficult directors, proving that even when the results are less than stellar, these days he's in fact the one in which fans trust. So Feige has crowned a new golden boy. Two, actually, the Russo brothers. See, while their debut Marvel film, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, didn't come anywhere near the $1 billion club, and actually is only Marvel's fourth best reviewed film, it is heralded by fans as Marvel's The Dark Knight, a sophisticated political thriller that elevates the entire comic book genre. As a result, Whedon is out, and the Russo brothers are not only directing Captain America: Civil War, the third de facto Avengers flick, but also the next two official Avengers movies, Infinity War Part 1 and 2. Indeed, the Marvel cinematic landscape is shifting across the board, as its former on-screen golden boy, Robert Downey Jr., is no longer a fan favorite either, with the internet strongly shifting its allegiance to Captain America, who, as I like to point out, would totally vote for Bernie Sanders. When I started saying that a few months ago, some of you got mad, but today, I bet more and more of you can totally see it. But while fans say one thing on the internet, moviegoers have said something else at the box office. And Marvel movies starring Robert Downey Jr. have wildly outperformed Marvel movies that do not. Is Civil War a passing of the torch? Downey Jr. reminding Evans who's boss? Or perhaps a nervous Downey Jr. wanting to make sure that if Captain America 3 does do big business, he can still take the credit. It's also worth noting that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is getting more and more crowded. Even Scarlett Johansson no longer has the luxury of being the only female character, and a new fan favorite could emerge at any moment. In fact, early buzz says Spider-Man will steal the show, even if he does feel shoehorned in. Somewhere, Whedon sighs that Feige is still at it, while the Russo brothers slyly smile that they can handle him. So to make sure there is absolutely no confusion as to where I stand on this movie, I'm going to break protocol and give it a grade. And I struggled between giving it a B+ and an A-. But at the end of the day, because the action sequences are so good and the ending is so powerful, I had to go with an A-. Yes, Captain America: Civil War might not be the best comic book movie ever made, but it certainly has the best action sequences. And that includes better than Deadpool. Although I think, to be fair, Deadpool is only held back by budgetary issues. And if they increase the budget for the sequel for Deadpool, I'm sure it will be able to give this movie a run for its money. But seriously, the audience I was with literally oohed and awed at each action sequence, myself included. I was just like so into it. It was like being in a stunt show in the splash zone. And I think also because the action is the best thing about this movie, you have to see it in 3D. A couple of people tweeted me who've seen it overseas and said they didn't think the 3D was worth it, so keep that in mind. But I personally really enjoyed the 3D. It made you feel even more like you were in the middle of the action. But the problem with the movie is the script. For the first 2/3, again, that ending is very, very good. But the first 2/3 of the film, it's got a pacing problem, and it also is a little confusing. And I think it's a similar problem that Whedon suffered from with Age of Ultron, and that's that the Russo brothers' checklist is mighty. And while they check all the boxes off with gusto, I think that having to check off so many boxes really robs the film of a lot of its emotional heft. I mean, it can't take the time that it needs with, I think, very important emotional beats. I would actually say that sometimes at the beginning of this movie, the first 2/3, I felt like I was flipping through a comic book rather than actually sitting down and reading it. Also, interestingly enough, I think that the movie suffered the most when it was trying to be loyal to the source material. I think that there were a lot of changes made to the original story, and every time that it deviated from the source material, it was stronger. And I think that a good note that the Russo brothers and this whole team should have gotten is, just forget the source material, because you've left a lot of it anyway behind. Just tell a really good story. But this movie reminded me of something that Steven Soderbergh told us a story a few years ago. He said that he was at an airport, appropriately enough for this movie, and while he was waiting to board, he saw a gentleman in his 30s on his laptop watching a blockbuster, and he noticed the guy because he's like the target demographic that Hollywood wants, right? So he said he watched this gentleman fast forward through all the dialogue in the movie just to get from action sequence to action sequence. And Steven Soderbergh was saying it in a way that he lamented modern filmmaking. I think that, we want to get to a point where the whole movie's spectacular, but I think that, if you have to pick you have to pick and choose, obviously you want to go with the action sequences because that's the real crowd pleaser, and that also creates incredible rewatchability. And many of you have told me you've already seen this movie several times, even though it's only been playing for about a week overseas. And I'm not surprised, because I think this movie has amazing rewatchability because the action sequences are just so spectacular. I don't think anyone's going to fast forward through the ending, but really, the dialogue at the first 2/3 of the movie is really just to get you from action sequence to action sequence. But the action sequences are so good. I have tickets to see this again on Saturday, and I'm really excited about it. I'm also excited to watch the people I'm going with experience these action sequences. But I'm also curious to see how they're going to react to the ending of the movie. The MCU went dark, really dark, and I was surprised at the choices that were made. But it also, I have to say, really angered me. It made me angry, and I had a similar response as I did to what Kylo Ren did at the end of Star Wars The Force Awakens. But this was even worse, because with Kylo Ren, I felt that was a business decision that was thrust upon the film. But this was actually earned creatively. So I say worse, and that it made me even angrier because it just rung so true. But also, I wonder sincerely about the ramifications in the movies and the comic books. It really threw me for a loop, and I don't know if it was the right choice to make. We'll see, but I respect the hell out of it creatively because, again, it was earned. As for MVPs, I have to say Spider-Man, Black Panther, let's see, Ant-Man, loved Ant-Man, and then here's the surprising one. I can't believe he's one of my MVPs, Falcon. If you want to find out why, meet me over at my spoiler review. But as for Captain America Civil War, definitely see it. And definitely see it on the big screen in 3D. It's a big screen popcorn experience. And I'm sure many people will buy this because they're going to want to fast forward to get to those action sequences, which really, again, the Russo brothers, only their second action movie ever. I can't wait to see what they do with Infinity War. And hopefully they get a little better person to script it next time around. All right, that's my review. I look forward to continuing the discussion with you down below. No spoilers. If you want to share spoilers, do that over in the spoiler review. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.